Behind the quiet suburbs and sun-soaked streets of Australia lies a darker history few dare to talk about. From cold-blooded masterminds to women who shocked the nation with unimaginable crimes, these killers shattered every expectation of what evil looks like. We uncover the chilling true stories of Australia's most notorious female killers and the terrifying secrets they tried to hide. Today we will talk about Australia's most notorious female killers. So before we start, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. 1. The dark side of Australia's criminal history. Australia is often imagined as a land of beautiful beaches, isolated deserts, and peaceful suburban communities. But beneath that calm image lies a criminal history filled with horrifying murders and shocking acts of violence. While male serial killers have long dominated headlines, some of the most chilling crimes in Australian history were committed by women, whose actions stunned the nation. These women came from different backgrounds. Some were mothers, nurses, lovers, or socialites, yet each left behind a legacy of fear, mystery, and tragedy. Their crimes challenged public beliefs about femininity and violence because many of them used manipulation, poison, deception, and psychological control rather than brute force. In several cases, investigators initially struggled to believe women were capable of such calculated brutality. Yet the evidence revealed horrifying truths. Some killed for money, others for revenge, jealousy, or twisted psychological satisfaction. Their stories became national obsessions covered endlessly in newspapers, documentaries, and courtroom trials. 2. Catherine Knight, Australia's most terrifying female murderer among all female killers in Australian history. Few names inspire as much horror as Catherine Knight. Born in 1955 in New South Wales, Knight had a violent upbringing filled with abuse and instability. From an early age, she displayed disturbing behavior, including violent temper tantrums and fascination with weapons. Friends and family later described her as unpredictable and aggressive, but no one could have imagined the crime that would eventually shock the entire country. Knight worked in an abattoir where she became skilled with knives and butchering techniques. Her relationships were notoriously violent, and several partners reported terrifying abuse before the final tragedy unfolded in 2000. Her boyfriend, John Price, had attempted to leave the relationship after enduring repeated assaults and threats. On the night of the murder, Knight stabbed Price dozens of times in a frenzied attack. What investigators discovered afterward was so gruesome, it became one of the most infamous crime scenes in Australian history. Knight skinned the victim and attempted to cook parts of his body, allegedly planning to serve them to his children. Police officers arriving at the home were horrified by the brutality of the scene. The murder shocked even experienced detectives because of its extreme violence and disturbing details. 3. Caroline Grills. The granny killer of Australia, Caroline Grills, appeared to be the perfect elderly grandmother living a quiet life in New South Wales during the 1940s and 1950s. She was polite, religious, and trusted by family members, making the truth behind her crimes even more disturbing. Beneath her calm exterior was a woman secretly poisoning relatives with arsenic. Grills developed a sinister reputation after multiple family members became mysteriously ill whenever they visited her home. At the time, doctors struggled to identify the cause of the illnesses because arsenic poisoning symptoms often resembled common diseases. Suspicion grew when several relatives died under unusual circumstances after eating meals prepared by grills. Investigators eventually discovered that she had been placing arsenic into tea and food over long periods of time. One of the most shocking aspects of the case was that she targeted people close to her, including family members who trusted her completely. Newspapers quickly labeled her Granny Killer, a nickname that horrified the public because it contradicted the image of a harmless elderly woman. During her trial, evidence revealed that Grills had attempted to murder multiple people, though only one death led directly to conviction. She was sentenced to life imprisonment in 1953. The case created widespread panic because it showed how easily poison could be used without immediate detection. 4. Martha Needle, the Victorian era poisoner. Long before modern forensic science existed, Martha Needle became one of Australia's most feared female killers during the late 19th century. Born in England before moving to Australia, Needle lived a troubled and unstable life marked by poverty and family conflict. Between 1885 and 1894, several members of her family died under suspicious circumstances, including her husband, children, and relatives. Each death appeared tragic but natural at first, allowing Needle to escape suspicion for years. However, investigators eventually noticed a disturbing pattern linking the deaths together. Financial motives quickly became central to the investigation because Needle often benefited from insurance payments after each death. Authorities later discovered that she used arsenic to poison her victims slowly and carefully. During the Victorian era, arsenic was widely available and difficult to trace, making it a common weapon for poisoners. Public outrage intensified when details emerged that some of her victims were her own children. Newspapers portrayed Needle as cold-hearted and greedy, while courtroom spectators packed the galleries to witness the sensational trial. Her lack of visible remorse deeply disturbed observers. In 1894, Martha Needle was convicted and sentenced to death. She became one of the few women executed in Australian history. 5. Kathleen Folbig, the mother at the centre of national controversy. The case of Kathleen Folbig became one of the most controversial criminal cases in Australian history because it combined tragedy, science, and public outrage. During the 1990s, Folbig's 4 young children died unexpectedly over a 10-year period. Initially, the deaths were considered tragic accidents or unexplained natural causes. However, suspicion slowly grew among investigators and medical experts because of the statistical improbability of 4 children dying in the same family. In 2003, Folbig was convicted of murdering 3 of her children and manslaughter of another. Prosecutors argued that she had smothered the children, while diary entries presented during the trial were interpreted as confessions of guilt. The public reacted with shock and anger, labeling her one of Australia's worst child killers. Yet the case became increasingly controversial as scientific developments emerged years later. Medical researchers discovered possible genetic mutations linked to sudden cardiac deaths and rare illnesses that may have explained the children's deaths naturally. Supporters argued that Folbig had been wrongfully convicted based largely on circumstantial evidence and emotional assumptions. 6. Kelly Lane, Secrets, Lies, and the Missing Baby Mystery. Few Australian criminal cases generated as much media attention and mystery as the story of Kelly Lane. A former water polo player and respected athlete, Lane appeared to have a successful and normal life. However, beneath the surface, she was hiding shocking secrets involving pregnancies, deception, and the disappearance of her newborn daughter Tegan. In 1996, Lane gave birth to the child before claiming she handed the baby to the biological father shortly after leaving the hospital. Yet investigators later discovered there was little evidence proving the father existed as described. As police uncovered more details, they learned Lane had hidden multiple pregnancies from friends, family, and even romantic partners over many years. The case became a media sensation because of the bizarre contradictions and unanswered questions surrounding the missing baby. Prosecutors argued that Lane murdered the child to preserve her carefully controlled public image and social life. During the trial, jurors heard evidence about her secretive behavior, false statements, and complex personal life. 7. The female poisoners and manipulators who shocked the nation. Australia's criminal history contains numerous lesser-known female killers whose crimes were equally chilling because of the methods they used. Unlike stereotypical violent offenders, many female murderers relied on manipulation, poisoning, and emotional control rather than direct physical violence. One example was Yvonne Fletcher, who murdered her husband with arsenic poisoning in a carefully planned crime motivated by financial gain. Another notorious figure was Phyllis Croke, who was convicted for arranging violent acts linked to organized criminal activity. These women often escaped suspicion initially because society struggled to associate femininity with calculated murder. Criminologists have long studied how female killers exploit trust and domestic environments to commit crimes unnoticed. Poison became a recurring weapon because it allowed murder to appear natural or accidental. In hospitals and care facilities, some women abused positions of trust to harm vulnerable victims. Media portrayals of female killers often focused heavily on appearance, personality, and relationships, creating sensationalized narratives that fascinated the public. Yet beneath those headlines were devastating stories of victims whose lives were destroyed by greed, jealousy, revenge, or psychological instability. 8. Why these crimes still fascinate Australia today. The stories of Australia's most notorious female killers continue to captivate the public because they challenge deeply rooted assumptions about gender, violence, and morality. Society traditionally views women as caregivers, protectors, and nurturers, making female-perpetrated violence particularly shocking. When women commit brutal crimes, public fascination intensifies because the acts seem to contradict social expectations. These cases also reveal how appearances can be dangerously misleading. Many of the women discussed appeared ordinary, respectable, or even caring before their crimes were uncovered. This contrast between public image and hidden reality creates psychological fascination that fuels documentaries, books, and true crime series. Advances in forensic science have also renewed interest in old cases, leading to debates about wrongful convictions and investigative mistakes. Some cases remain controversial decades later because new evidence continues to emerge. Beyond sensational headlines, these stories expose serious issues involving domestic violence, mental health, manipulation, and failures within criminal justice systems. If you liked this video and would like to see more like it, please give it the thumbs up, leave a comment, and click the button to subscribe.